Everyone, it's March 8th. Everyone, it's March 8th, 2024. We have gathered some news for you today, and we look forward to having you with us. First story coming right up. All right, guys. So, had kind of an interesting week in news. We had a State of the Union happen. We have some interesting things happen with AI with different partners. Rumble keeps making strides where Rumble's gonna rumble. um, and we had some interesting thing happen on most social media platforms as well. That was interesting. So we're gonna get into it, and let's go and hit our first story. It looks like EV Mux revealing that they have some new features that they released on this town hall, which was just yesterday. I forget what the other thing that they did other than the AI support. Do you remember, Brian? As far as they had announced two major things. What was the other one other than the AI support?
It would be their media player.
I don't remember it now. But the big announcement they rolled out, what was it?
They updated their player to allow you to have embedded controls, allow you to.
Oh, that's right. It's just not a feature I normally use. Probably something I'm going to use. I don't know if it's an extra paid, if you pay more for their playback feature. I know that with StreamYard, you have to pay a pretty penny to get the embedded features as far as the being able to stream directly to only your website without going to YouTube or whatever. And actually, you're not streaming to your website. They're giving you an embedded player. It's still on their platform. It just never leaves their platform. So StreamYard is not doing the same thing. I think it's not available even at the level that I'm at. It's a level above. The level we pay for with our company is, I think, the first or the second tier, the business tier. I think you have to go another tier above us. I don't have the entire pay structure ahead of us. But
that does sound correct based on their town hall.
What's that? Is it on everything?
That does sound correct based on what you said in their town hall. Right now, it's on their pro package. But
yeah, I'm doing it from memory.
Yeah, good memory so far.
Well, the dog agrees. That's all that matters. Yeah, no, it's. I think it's the full pro, and it's a pretty high price difference from what we're at. I think the business package is actually really affordable, all things considered. There's still some other features and things that we're waiting for EV Mux to update. I have other partners of mine in our organization. They're like, until we get Facebook comments, it's not a real platform. So we're still waiting for those types of things. But that wasn't the biggest announcement for them. They made a pretty big deal about adding new support options. So they now have AI support. So if you've seen the little blue, let me get way over here, over in the corner. I believe all of the support options are now completely contextual, and they use AI to help you figure out things now. So it's not AI support in terms of actually having AI assistance in the running of your show, but more in the assistance of their help system. So kudos. I'm glad to see that they're taking steps to help people understand their platform. Basically having access to understanding these tools is critical for their use. You can't use something you don't know how to use, right? So that should hopefully help people get more out of what they're subscribing for. And I'm assuming that's across the board too. That help system is going to help everybody from your free accounts all the way up. So that's not a benefit that you get because you pay for it. That's just across the entire EV Mux ecosystem. So very cool of them to move into using AI in creative ways. Our second story tonight, our top story tonight, is Rumble Ads. The Rumble Ad Center, our RAC, They got a couple new partners. One of them, I think, was the Gateway Pundit. I think you can see in our over the shoulder, which I'm not in because I didn't move to it. There we go. The Gateway Pundit is joining the RAC. So we will see ads for them, I guess, in different videos. I think we run ours with ads because we would love to monetize our labor as well, so that we can continue to improve our products. And you should also see the benefits to that as well. Hopefully, the bigger and the more that people advertise, the bigger people that advertise, the larger companies that advertise, the better. They're going to have larger ad spends, and that means there's going to be more options for payouts. More targeted ads means that we have a broader variety of opportunities on a free speech platforms. Another thing to point out is that we don't necessarily always just are excited about conservative advertisers on the Rumble platform. Personally, I think that they're looking for advertisers from anyone. It's whether or not you want to advertise with Rumble. I mean, all the troubles we saw with YouTube during the adpocalypse was because somebody didn't want to advertise and they wanted to control the content that we created because they didn't want their ad on a certain video. So everyone has the option to opt out, but here, hopefully we get advertisers from across the political spectrum, not just conservative advertisers, but we're glad to have them. We're glad to see them join the Rumble movement. And honestly, we want to see that in a lot of others. Go ahead. What's up, Brian? I don't hear you. I don't know if I've got your audio. I'm going to check that scene. Hold on a second.
No, I was waiting for my moment. Keeping it quiet because I live with
Yeah.
wild animals here. Essentially, in the Wayback Machine 2022, the AP reported that Rumble was switching to their own version here. They were trying to make their own ad inventory into its own advertising center rather than use some of the options that were out there. So this has been going on now for over a year, going on its second year now, and it just seems like in what they were posting was it's currently, according to their posts, they're outperforming what most of these other ad networks are putting out there at the moment. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So they're seeing better results with Rumble than they're seeing with YouTube.
Yes.
Or with Facebook or with that's a pretty big statement. That is something that I would love to like maybe talk with somebody who's actually, if you're an advertiser with Rumble and you can show those stats, I would love to have those conversations on air just to I think the more companies see that that's the case, the more they're going to kind of move into this platform and start trusting it. So
well, it's still on the news of believe half of what you see and even less of what you hear or whatever.
Exactly.
So in this case, I'm only basing it off of websites that were brought to me during my searches. There could have been some bias in my searches, but what was presented to me from the source says, oh, we're doing really well. It kind of got me down that path of looking at these, as they call them, marketing tools, which are, essentially just meant to find out what color underwear you wear, which days of the week you change them, and then what's your preferred brand, and those things get targeted into your social media streams.
My gosh, I just saw an example of that from our friend Jen. She was we were having a conversation about AI or something, and she got like, well, I think 3 back to back targeted, very specific ads. All I could think is, what app are you running, or what device were you near when we had that conversation? Because I think for myself, I've even gone to the point that I've taken the Facebook application off of my phones. I've taken it off my iPad. I think the only app I still use, which might be just as bad as Messenger, but it's kind of hard to get around. My mom uses Messenger, so, kind of stay where your mom's at. But in general, I only visit Facebook on a browser, and that is irrelevant of the platform. I mean, you're accustomed to that on a PC, but on a mobile app, they expect, or on a mobile experience, they expect you to have the app, right? And I
True.
feel like that's where you have no idea what's getting backdoored onto your phone, what's listening. They say it's turned off or whatever. No, no, I'll keep the simplest amount of apps available if I can do it. You lose my trust, you're off my phone.
That's why you got to read those permissions when you
Mhm.
sign up for those apps. It's a long, detailed document they give you.
Speaking of which, it makes me wonder if Rumble will ever do that. I mean, that's pure speculation at this point, but I think it might be a really good argument. We might want to tag them on this, but a really interesting argument for maybe making sure that the Rumble app code is open source to a certain extent, especially on the player side. I don't need it on the studio, but you expect everybody to have this app on your phone. Can we trust you? Can we trust you to not spy on us, to not do that same dirty tactics that YouTube would? And I think the only way that they could do that would be to open source the code for the player, right? That it isn't spyware, or somehow get someone to validate the spyware concerns. I think right now the only way that we would trust it is because of a certain ethical understanding from prior business practices and maybe statements. But the only true way to trust a piece of software is if you have transparency to the code, right?
Well, let's leave the speculation for the comments. Those of you speculating, go ahead and post those
Yeah,
in the
let us
comments.
know. Let
But it
us know.
does sound like you made a good transition to the third story on our agenda here about open source code and trying to be more transparent with the way they do things. So you want
Yeah,
to tee that one off, and then we can get back to here.
absolutely. Let's hit our next story. So it looks like the third story today for us is Google prepping its migration away from a cookie based system. So Brian found this article. Actually, you've got all the info on this, Brian. Why don't you pop in here real quick and give me what you found on this, because I'm not sure I understand exactly either.
Sure, sure, sure. So I was doing the research I typically do, looking for articles, seeing what's out there, and I came across a article by let's see, the Video Week. And in their week in review, they were talking about a few different streaming services, but their second story was that Google is introducing a new ad measurement tool
Hmm.
as they prepare to roll back third party cookies. That is something that Google had mentioned in the past, that they were trying to move away from the third party cookies, and those people who track your data and information based on the websites you view and everything else. Well, Google was trying to cut down on the amount of third party cookies that are existing through Chrome. So essentially, they've created what they're calling the Meridian open sourced marketing mixed model. So it's an
Hmm.
MMM, even though I counted four M's in that description.
It's not an MLM, it's an MMM.
Not an MLM,
Introduces
it's not an M&M, it's an MMMMM.
is at some point we're just
Mm,
going to call it a mm.
yes. And then, directly from the mouth of the Google on the 7th, they posted in their commerce and advertisement blog. And it's a short article, if you want to check it out, is in there. But they're basically talking about four main points that they're offering. One is innovation. Their new is going to be more accurate and actionable and analytically rigorous, according to Google,
Mm.
trying to be more calibrated. They're
Mm.
also trying to make their advertising portion on Chrome here more transparent.
Hmm.
By being an open source solution, they offer transparency to the underlying code on how they're gathering your preferences and data and styles. Their
So
third point was,
I apologize for like leaning into the mms, but it only seems appropriate.
I mean, it's yeah, it's kind of on the tip of your tongue, sort of.
Right. Hmm.
Open
So
source.
Google's doing new stuff. Hmm.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be for
Track
their
us.
Chrome, and I think if I remember reading this correctly, they said it was only for like 1% of their Chrome users, which
Hmm.
ends up being only a few million people. So
Wow.
Yeah, something stupid. And then
That's
their
right.
fourth thing was education. They wanted Meridian users to have a breadth of resources for implementing and using their new product here. You know, with connection with Google and their ad partners for answers. So
Well, cool, man.
yeah, they said that they are their mixed modeling marketing mix modeling was over 2 times more likely to exceed revenue goals by 10%, according to Google in their
Wow.
citations. So that was the Google news of the day. Seeing that we're talking about streaming services, and all of this is just basically a game of advertising at the end of the day. So
Yeah, I made
seeing
that.
Google,
Didn't I make that statement earlier? I think in pre-show that anything that is done in like surveillance is usually advertised as marketing. It's always advertising.
yeah, it's a good little, like, we cover our sins with language, so we're going to use the word marketing, but really what we're trying to do is target advertise you, because once they got their hooks in you, they don't ever want to let go, and they want to make
So
sure they
there are no off ramps. No,
turn you
absolutely.
upside down and shake you out for every penny that falls out of your pocket. Figuratively speaking, allegedly, according to the internet. So,
Right, right.
in my
So
own,
what's our next story? What do we got?
there was some social media outages on the Super
That's
Tuesday election day, which caused some people to also go a little bit of
Hmm. Yeah, it
hmm.
looks like everybody was at the exact same time. It makes me wonder what the infrastructure for all these are. Are they all Valley? But we had a major outage on Super Tuesday of all days, and there's a lot of speculation as to is this the tuning up of the band for our future elections? But ironically, X and Rumble did not go down. So uh, I think the lines are in the sand, in the proverbial sand, are being drawn. If you like to have your access to media shut off, then stay right where you're at on those other platforms. Other than that, find ways to start gathering information on other platforms. I think that's the general consensus of even like Tim Pool was saying the same thing on his show. So
Well, according to TechCrunch.com, at about 10 o'clock Eastern, Tuesday, various sites started reporting that there were outages due to a air quotes technical nature. So, using language to cover all manners of sin. Technical could mean anything from technically a bird shit on a receiver and fried the system.
right, the
Somebody,
uncensored news now.
yeah, I don't want
No,
to
no,
put
I'm not asking you to censor yourself by by any means. We're
just
streaming. We're not television.
yes. I'll never forget the first time I got to be on part of an interview with Alex Jones, and suddenly he started having outages of his
Right.
internet. Randomly it would shut off, and then it would plug back in, and then it would just randomly shut off. And what I could imagine sitting in our end, receiving the signal, was like, okay, I could just picture some three-letter agency derp just sitting there with a plug,
Just
plugging it
some
in,
alphabet soup
plugging
going
it back
on
in,
there.
plugging it
Yeah.
back in, plugging it back in, and just having fun with it, because that was the only explanation that made sense of there being a technical issue on such an
I don't know.
important day where,
Are you having? Are
yeah,
you?
yep,
I
yep.
can't. Yeah.
It was technical,
I don't know.
according to the reports. And there was also big news happening, not only on top of the elections, but the POTUS had his moment in the spotlight this week.
This might be the most
So
tinfoil hat episode we've ever done, dude.
I'm trying to be careful. You keep putting me in charge of researching news, and I'm going to keep regurgitating what my limited sapient
I'm not
brain can
complaining.
search.
It's not a complaint.
I
I'm
am going to
sorry.
be fully honest and open and everything, and say that I have no bias in this fight. I stand for freedom of speech and freedom of expression, and I'm essentially just reporting on and researching what I find in my searches and reporting back to you. I
I,
put it
dude,
on you, the viewer, to take it further, or just provide what data you have. If there are any Google Analytics people who just happen to stumble across our stream, we'd love to see a post
I
and
would
talk
love
about
to
it.
have conversations with them. Prove
But
us wrong.
I'm pretty sure they're keeping a very tight lip from this point forward on what actually happened and what is going to be done about it, because
Or
it's been pretty much out there that people are wondering what it's going to be like this year with the election year and everything with social
yeah, it's coming
media,
up.
what they
We're
discovered.
we're not that far out, really.
Yep.
Not really.
So
Primaries wrapped up. The stats are coming in. People are getting pretty stoked up.
pretty much they definitely picked their people they want to see. So
Well, let's before we get talking about the election, because we're going to lead into that on our
that's
last
true.
story.
I
It's a
did bring up the
nice
debate.
segue for a story that's two away or three away. So let's jump on to number 5 and see what we got.
Well, segues are for closers, and I'm not quite at your level yet.
So number 5, the fifth story that we have today is StreamYard released a new portrait mode camera style for their live streams, which is kind of cool. Quite a few other platforms already have that as well. One of the caveats that Brian had brought up to me is that is something that you have to have set pre-show. Not so much here on EV Mux. I think you can dynamically switch that, which I don't know how that works in practice. We'll have to do some experimentation on labs and see how that affects the stream. But
It does
that
not allow us to do it live either. We can switch it in pre-show, but if I went to and tried to make the attempt to switch right now, it would essentially try to block me. So
yeah, so that
so
is
we reported on it a couple weeks ago. I believe that they announced they were going to do it, and this week it did finally drop. And some people were out testing it. I was watching some of the StreamYard vlogs where they talked
that's
about
cool.
this new feature. But yeah, you set it when you get started, and you can choose to either record or stream in this proper landscape mode or the modern internet portrait mode for those people who don't want to feel they're watching a video, but they're really just sitting there watching just short video after short video after short video
Right, right.
as the
Just
algorithm
doom scrolling on the
just
YouTubes.
it really is. It's like, hey, we could either look up in the sky and see the world is coming to an end, or we could just sit here and stare in this box and let it happen quietly behind us. Because as
That
long
it
as we're
didn't
sitting
happen.
here,
It didn't happen on a live stream. It didn't happen, man.
as long as it's happening when we're not paying attention to it, it's you know
Yep.
less people getting involved in putting their their spoon in the soup to try to figure it out and fix it.
Fair.
So,
I'm curious what our next story here is. I'm checking our agenda.
oh yeah,
Looks like
we're on number 6 here. This is our light news of the day.
ooh,
This was something that Elgato, the cat,
yay.
was very proud of, and in fact,
Yeah,
if you follow the thread, this is from Twitter. They just posted today. Back
I
in
am
stock.
actually looking at possibly getting a couple of these as well for a couple of people. I'd like to think that I can maybe gift it to some people. Maybe we can run a giveaway at some point in the future. But I think this is a very essential piece of equipment. I just wish they would make one that was maybe twice the size. I think for a prompter, it's a little small. I think that's an 11-inch, if I
It does.
remember correctly.
It does look like the prompter you would see at like a junior high school's television station. Kids'
Yeah,
first
well,
prompter.
it's like this big, but for a lot of people, that's plenty. I mean,
Yes.
I'm looking at a portal on my screen. If it's high enough resolution, then I'm sure it's great. And if it's sitting on your desk, it's an amazing option. So I'm kind of stoked to get one in practice so that I don't have to like use my hearsay and bash what I don't have experience with. That's not our proper methodology. I need to get it in my hands, do some testings, give you guys some reviews, see if we can endorse and suggest this. But the people I have seen that have used it are pretty insta fans. I don't think anybody's really bitched about the size that I've seen recently. So
And it does seem the people who were posting in the thread on X were very stoked to see it. A lot of people were either waiting for it because once they knew it was out there, they couldn't wait to have one available to them. As
right,
more and more people join the self-sufficient streaming services.
is that yours or mine?
This mine. This is Nick's.
We both have cats, so I don't
Yes.
know where. It's required if you stream. Get a cat, and it will improve your streaming ability. I have 3.
I've always used cats, I believe, are my favorite way to keep away the evil spirits. So
There you go.
she has a job to do. That's the reason
We
she's
talked about
here.
that last night with
Yeah.
Chad. Yeah, I think we were talking about how they are. Okay, tangent. Moving
Tangents.
on. Seventh
Back to the
story.
agenda. Back to the agenda. Seventh story. Take it away. Session.
Ooh, this one's interesting. So, we know that Pavlovsky likes to watch the charts. I forget which site. I was watching the site myself for about a week when I was doing some research, but statistically speaking, the State of the Union address was kind of a big night. A lot of people restreamed the State of the Union. A lot of people got an idea. I think actually, I could be wrong on this, but a lot of people like to emulate our friend Steven Crowder, who does quite well lampooning the State of the Union and has done it almost religiously. It's been pretty awesome to observe, but he topped the charts on the stats last night. I forget which site it was. Let me pull it up, but Pavlovsky posted it. I can bring this up a little closer here. But there we have Steven Crowder at top on Rumble, coming in doing the State of the Union at 202,000 live viewers. For comparison, I had a friend ask, well, that's interesting. Where was Timcast on that? Timcast at the same time was at 66,000 viewers. So, and that I believe, I don't know if that was on Rumble or if that's YouTube. It looks like that was on YouTube. So interesting. We're seeing almost 250,000 live viewers on streams on the regular on Rumble. So it says a lot about infrastructure, and it says a lot about the stability and adoption of the platform. Of course, I think it's fair to say that Crowder has put a lot of time and effort into ensuring that he's migrated his audience over to Rumble, which I think is kind of that's the model to follow. He's done an excellent job at kind of templating, setting up how to get people to watch you on the platform that you may not want to be on, but still using that to fish and move people over. He's as the inventor, I believe, the coiner of the YouTube dump button. Makes sure that when they say things that they already know is going to be controversial, they hit the dump button. And if you want to see an uninterrupted view of the show, you can figure out what is being said behind the veil. Brilliant marketing tactic. I think that's probably garnered him the 200,000 on Rumble as opposed to other platforms. I think if he was still on YouTube, he'd have probably twice those numbers on YouTube. So, but very, very congratulations for having the top statistically viewed live stream during the State of the Union. Ironically, it wasn't the actual State of the Union itself. It wasn't like the White House feed, right? It wasn't RSBN. It wasn't someone like legitimately covering Biden. That might lean into the political, which I'm going to stay out of. But this is more about Crowder and getting his stats up on the whatever site they're using to watch. I'll look into that. We'll post that in the comments for those who would like to start watching statistics like this. But that is our top story tonight, and that concludes what I've got available for you. Brian and I here continue to work and continue to improve our processes. We'll continue to document our processes. You can still watch us regularly on YouTube. You can watch us. Let me pull up some banners here. We also stream our show on X, as well as YouTube, as well as Facebook. Believe it or not, we are also on Facebook. So yeah, I don't. Is that that's a hashtag? I don't know, dude. I'm not hip anymore. That's what it takes. It's the cost of being this involved. And you can join us again next week at 7:00 here. We look forward to seeing you. We hope that each time we do this, it improves and we've added some value to your trying to understand this crazy, ever evolving industry. And look forward to seeing you next Friday at 7. Take care, guys. It's good talking with all of you.